Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. I'm your host here again tonight on the Cosmic Connections. Want to welcome everybody here to our August 19th program. I was gone last week. I was back in my old home of Sedona last week, and I know it may sound just a little bit different this week because I've got my really nice, what is called blue microphone. They're a really top quality, expensive microphone, but I committed one of those boners. I left it in the hotel room back in Sedona. Now, fortunately, I called and they said, yes, they have it and they're going to send it to me. But I got a little bit of a different setup, so it might sound just a little bit different or distant tonight. But my understanding is everything should be working well. And with that, Blanca, how are you doing on this fine evening?
Doing very well, Dave. Thank you. We're having a great week over here, a bit on the hot side, but we're getting through it.
It was sure hot when I was in Phoenix. When I arrived there, it was 118 degrees, a new record all-time high. And then the day I left, it was 115. Jeez. So that's called hot. And fortunately, when we're up at Sedona, Sedona is about 2 hours north, and Sedona, the elevation is 4,500 feet, and Phoenix, it's 1,000-foot elevation, so Sedona runs about 12 to 13 degrees cooler, so it's kind of reasonable, But here I am back in southern Florida, where it was 92 degrees and 85 to 90% humidity, so it's the warm part of the season here, so it's the humidity here, so. Well, what else do you have to share with us, Blanca? What would you like to share with us tonight? I'm getting notes on...
It's just been a bit... Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying I'm getting notes on Facebook that everything sounds good. So that's good to know.
Oh, okay. That's good. Well, there's a little bit of a delay, so I didn't mean stepping on you there. Sometimes it's hard to get the timing. No, but overall, the week's been a good, active week. On the good side, really. And meeting a lot of people who are waking up. People are starting to notice that things aren't adding up. And it's good for people to start questioning, why are we being told certain things and it's not making sense, things aren't adding up. And so it opens up for an interesting conversation. So whenever people are looking around and trying to digest what's going on, that's when we can take an opportunity to help others see things a little differently maybe.
I think the positive thing coming out of the COVID-19, it's helping a lot of people wake up that there's what I call a shadow world that's out there. And folks, most of you know on this program, and you come to my workshops, I always talk about there's the conventional world, and then there's the shadow world. And the shadow world is that world that's run by the really elite, extremely wealthy people that stay very quiet. And most of my programs and workshops talk about the reality of the shadow world and then how we get to handle that and how we get to deal with it. But what this is doing, a lot of the people that have just been in what I call their everyday normal lives, existing, going and doing their jobs, it's waking them up to that, wait a minute, this just doesn't make sense. And see, that's where consciousness, becoming awake and aware starts, is because you begin to question what's going on. You say, wait a minute, this is crazy. This doesn't make sense. And what that does, it helps people begin to start in their awakening process. And that's what I talk about a lot here, is about our responsibility and our ability to be aware and awake of what's going on in our world. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing we've noticed a little bit more this time, because even if people are used to accepting what the mainstream and all the major programming entities in this matrix, they were used to just taking it at face value. Now it's hard to take it at face value because it's not making sense. Yeah. It's illogical, there's contradictions, and so even people who are used to just taking the program are saying, wait a minute, this program doesn't make sense anymore. And that opens it up to discussing, well, how many other things are not true or can be questioned.
Yeah. Well, with that, then, Blanca, I want to make an announcement that you folks, you saw in the newsletter. I get to start doing the workshops again, and boy, am I ready for that. It has been 7 months since I've been able to do a workshop. And I thought, oh my, just because of the COVID thing. And I basically had to find states that they are going to allow us to have a meeting with 50 to 60 people in a regular conference room. And as you see, the first one will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then the second one will be in Chicago. And both of them have said, yes, you still got to, kind of do your 6-foot distance. So basically what we'll do is they'll set up chairs, and then there'll either be an empty chair in between or a space where there would normally be a chair. So you just kind of give a little bit of a distance in there. But other than that, everything is good, and we're ready to go. And I'm excited to get back. I got a lot of new material that I'm going to be bringing because I've had 7 months of some shifts and changes going on in my life and some stuff that I've been doing. And so, so I am ready and anxious. The first one is September 12th in Dallas-Fort Worth. It'll be at the Embassy Suites Hotel near the airport. And then 2 weeks later, September 26th, we're going to be in the Chicago O'Hare Rosemont Embassy Suites as well there. So, and then what I'll be doing, I'll be scheduling about every 2 weeks. I'm going to try to do 2 in October, 2 in November, and 1 in December, and we'll do that, for the rest of the year. And if you know that you are in an area that they're not going to have problems, then give me a call. Folks, remember I said I wanted to reschedule Denver first because we already had one scheduled for Denver in March, and I had to cancel that. Well, when I called, it says, nope. They were going to require me to be in a room of 2,000 square feet, and they were only going to allow 15 people in there. I thought, that doesn't work. so that's what Colorado's doing. But Illinois and Texas are just fine. So, I've got some phone calling I'll be doing in the next week to kind of be able to find out what's available and where we'll go. But I do have us scheduled up through the end of September, and then we'll go after that. Now, please wait until I send out the registration form, because what happened is with the SEC situation. Now, remember, folks, I'm not talking about Meta One. I just cannot talk about Meta One until the SEC issue is settled, because that's getting to be a pretty big legal thing, and I've got to jump through the hoops on that. But the reality was, yes, they froze 2 of my checking accounts and my PayPal account. So PayPal basically shut that account down. And so what I need to do in the next 2 to 3 days, I'm going to open up a new business checking account and then open up a new PayPal account. So wait until I send out a newsletter. And when I send out the newsletter, then you can start the registration again for the Dallas. And for those of you who want to pay your deposit through PayPal, you can do that, or however you want to do it. So, but that's how we do it. So. Okay, well, I am looking here. Blanca, is there anything else that you would want to share with us before we get started on the program tonight?
Well, no, it's just good news to hear you're getting your workshops going again, and again, you're starting in Dallas and Chicago because those states are allowing at least 50 people to be able to get together if they social distance, and some states have a little bit more, what shall we call it, limiting or restrictive requirements. Now, Georgia, you can have 50, so you might want to put Georgia on your list as you're putting your schedule together.
Might have,
and,
yes.
And so, hey, guys, I encourage y'all, if your state allows meetings of this type, let Dave know. And you guys in Colorado need to talk to your governor. so Dave can do the makeup workshop.
Looks like we could put Atlanta on the list before the end of the year. So I'll give a call there because to where I normally go. But I'm wanting also to go out to Southern California. I think they're going to allow it there. And then I want to go up into the Northeast. I'm going to try to do again what would be the Newark, New Jersey, New York City area, because I think they will allow something there. And because I try to spread it out, geographically is what I try to do. And so, Denver, Chicago, Southern California, Atlanta up in the Northeast, and then we'll go from there about, what I can get done. So I'm looking again at Kansas City. Haven't been there for a while. I'll see if maybe we can get something in Kansas City, because that's kind of a nice central location. So, yeah. Well, I do want to just make one other little side announcement. It has nothing to do with the program, but it's just one of those interesting things. And I was sharing with Blanca. I came out of a kind of a dysfunctional family, so there'd never been any kind of, nobody in our family did any genealogical family research and history except for me. And what I found out is, I think it was my 4 times great-grandfather came to the United States and landed in Boston in 1712. And then it was in the 1780s that that family migrated up to northern Vermont. So I'm probably this weekend going to go up to Vermont. Now, why am I doing that? Because I checked, folks, the positive thing of COVID. It's called round-trip airfare from Miami to Boston, $95. So, and once I start the workshops, I won't have time to do that. And this has been something I've been wanting to do for a couple of years. So I'm just going to go up and do some family genealogical research up in the northern Vermont area. And so I'll probably be up there that, next week. So I might be doing a program from up in northern Vermont next week. So, okay, I think we're about ready to go there. Blanca, anything else you'd like to share?
No, sounds good. We can get started.
Okay, well, tonight, folks, the program I mentioned was going to kind of be a continuation of what I had done 2 weeks ago about totally understanding the importance and the power of our thoughts. This is a whole new issue for the most of us, because it's now starting to come out with scientific research about how our thoughts create everything in our world around us. And tonight, I want to talk somewhat about how we go into creating the experiences that we want if our thoughts are powerful creators. Now, there's a lot of good, wonderful authors out there that are talking about the law of attraction and the law of manifestation and how you manifest stuff. And folks, I'm going to come from a little different angle tonight, because what I am going to talk about is one of the reasons why it doesn't happen for most of us. Here's the reality, folks. The people who try to use the law of attraction to create things in their lives or bring physical things in their lives that they want, it only happens about for 1 to 2% of the people, 1 to 2% of the time. That's it. Which means about 98% of them, it doesn't work. Well, I'll get into that. Now let's start. Let me go back again to a foundational source. We know and understand that we live in a world where everything is energy. Everything is energy. We have the tendency to think that this world around us is a physical world, and that the physical world is solid and it's stable, it's unmovable, and it can't really change. And that was the common science that we were all taught as we went through our years in school, and that was the basic foundation of basically what was called Newtonian physics. Everything in the world is solid, it's physical, it's there, and you can't change it, and that's the way it is. And then quantum physics came around. And quantum physics showed us that everything at the quantum level is nothing but energy. And energy is not fixed. Energy is movable, changeable, malleable, and you can shift and change energy in how you create things. Now, I'm going blank on the scientist's name, but he was a colleague with Einstein, and for decades they had this debate. And the famous scientist that really was one of the fathers of quantum physics, he said, no, there is no such thing as matter. Everything in this universe is nothing but energy. And what gives us the sensation of something being physical is basically energy that has come together in a high concentration, and it gives a sense to our physical senses that it has a sense of being physical because its vibration is so low. Well, Einstein debated that with him for decades, and Einstein said no, all the way down to the level of the electron. The electron is still a physical particle. Until the last 5 to 10 years in his life, it was something in there that basically Einstein moved over to the position of the other famous scientists, and he said, you were right. There is nothing in this world that is physical. Everything that has the appearance of physical is basically energy that is conglomerated together, operating in a very high, fast fashion, giving the sensation of being physical. Einstein basically said there is no such thing as matter. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is the things that we see and experience, whether it's a physical item or an experiential item, is a matter of energy that can be shifted and changed. And here's what they're discovering, and I've shared this within your books, the books I've shared in the past, is that because the world is a holographic illusion, it's only a product of our thoughts. It then has the ability, as our thoughts have the ability to create whatever it is that we're seeing, sensing, or experiencing. All of our world that appears to be physical is nothing more than the creation of human thought. Because here's what happens. When we have a thought, literally the brain sends out these little tiny electromagnetic, and I'm going to call it a particle, okay? I know technically it's not, but it's a form of energy. But it sends out these little electromagnetic, basically, particle that then there's different terms that are used for that. I call them memes, and these memes are what takes the energy and brings it into a formation of the appearance of a physical item. So a human thought is what creates everything that we experience in this world. Now let me give an illustration. It's really interesting to understand how this works. A cell phone. It's amazing what happens when we make a call and what goes on there. Some of you know this, but my son, his name is Matt, and he's in his mid-30s. He lives in Singapore. He is teaching in a private English school in Singapore, and Singapore is halfway around the world from here in Florida. He's 12 hours difference from me. I mean, right now I'm looking at my computer. It says that the time is 9:17 p.m. on a Wednesday night. So for him, it's 9:17 a.m. on Thursday morning. So he is exactly halfway around this world on the time zone times is what he is. Well, I can pick up this cell phone and I can talk with my son halfway around the world in real time, and it's like we're standing right next to each other. Now think about this. I dial his phone number. It goes into the phone, and then what is called the modem within the phone converts either my voice or even if I want to do a video, the pictures, it converts them to little tiny electromagnetic particles, sends them wirelessly to a cell phone tower. It then goes through a master tower, which sends it up to a satellite, and then comes down halfway around the world to a master cell phone tower, to a local tower, to his phone. And his phone rings, and he answers, and we're talking in real time. Think about that. It means this communication is taking place through all these different forms of physical technology operating basically at the speed of light, is what it's doing. And it's sending these little tiny magnetic particles of data bits of information that is converted back and forth. And that's the interesting thing that has happened to us, to what we can do here now in this world, in the advancement of our technology, and how we can talk with somebody halfway around the world in real time, even on a audio or on a computer or on a phone visually if we want to. Well, the human brain is similar to that. We have a thought. Now, let me go back to the cell phone. What's really interesting is each cell phone, that number of that cell phone basically emits a specific electromagnetic receptor, electromagnetic communication receptor that is unique to that phone, which means that number puts out a unique frequency, because this phone right now, it's on. That means this phone is constantly sending out electromagnetic waves of a specific frequency, and that frequency is unique to this number that's up there in the satellites, so that if anybody dials my phone, it rings anywhere in the world. And the same thing with my son's phone halfway around the world. His phone is constantly putting out. So literally, there are hundreds of millions of people with cell phones have them on that are producing these electromagnetic, energy frequency numbers unique to their phone that allows that to be communicated. Now, what's so unique about that? The human mind is very similar. When we think a thought, we're sending out these electromagnetic waves of communication. And the frequency of the thought that we are putting out, what it does, they're electromagnetic. The key is magnetic. These thoughts are at an energy frequency in these memes, and they are like magnets, and they attract back into us a similar frequency experience, a similar frequency connection. So if you're in the process of putting out a very low wave frequency thought, a thought of anger, a thought of hatred, a thought of judgment, that's what goes out. It's like a magnet, and that's what comes back into your life. And that's what we experience. That is why we are the creators of everything that we experience in our lives. And here's the issue. We don't consciously think about that. This happens in our subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is like the scores of millions of phones. It's amazing what it can process. The subconscious mind can process all of this information in split-second information in time. And what that does, it means that that's why we're constantly putting out and attracting back like frequencies, because like attracts like when it comes to energy. Now, what does this mean then? It's a display of how important it is for us to stay in high frequency thoughts if you want to have high frequency experiences. If you want love in your life, if you want peace in your life, if you want joy in your life, if you want harmony in your life, if you want purpose in your life, you have to put those types of thoughts out, because that's what you will attract back to yourself. And that energy comes back into you, and it creates the experience that you have in this non-physical world. If you're putting out thoughts of fear, anxiety, judgment, anger, hatred, that's what you're going to get back to yourself. Now, here's what happens. When most people start going into what is called, I want to create, I want to manifest, I'm going to use the law of attraction. I'm attracting this back into me. I'm going to use the law of attraction to attract something in my life. They start because they want to attract something positive, but the energy of the thought is usually still something that's negative or lower vibration. Let me give an example. Let's say you're going through a system of scarcity. You have a lack of money, okay? An issue has come up in your life and you need some money. I'm just going to use an illustration. Let's say you need $5,000 and you don't have $5,000. And you need to get that $5,000 or it's going to create some serious problems in your life. And you want to use this law of attraction to attract the $5,000. And you start thinking, I want 5,000, I want 5,000. Well, you're putting that out, but underneath that, you're still operating and putting out memes of scarcity and fear. So it's not working for you very well. Because here's what the researchers are showing. The way that you attract the most powerful and positive experience the quickest in your life is to make sure that the memes, the thought memes you are putting out, are very strong, focused, and highly vibrational positive. So if you're needing $5,000, you can't be thinking about scarcity. You can't be thinking about the fear of what's going to happen to you if you don't get it. You have to stay focused on the blessing, on the reception, on the event taking place. And that quickens this process. And that is why 98% of the people who try to use the law of attraction, it doesn't work for them, is because they don't understand the power of the memes that they're generating when they're wanting something in return. It's extremely important that you allow yourself to be in that place of peace, that place of harmony, that place of assurance, that place of focus when you begin to develop what it is that you want. And now let me give you an illustration of what I do. And I'm still learning a lot about this. I'm learning how this process works, and I'm learning how to put this into a greater impact in my life. But let me tell you how it works for me. Now, you need to do what works for you. That's what's important. But here's what I do. Okay, let's say I need something. Let's say, and I'm going to use the illustration of some money. Let's say I need some money. The most important thing that I can do is understanding the power and the importance of meditation. Because you see, what happens is we've all got these monkey mind thoughts going on through our mind during the day. And they are putting out memes and they're blocking the focused item that we want. Meditation is an exercise that helps you slow down your thoughts, to allow your thoughts to be restful, to allow your thoughts to be peaceful, and to allow your thoughts to be focused. And the biggest thing of meditation is you're letting go and you're just undoing all those crazy monkey mind thoughts, and you're bringing yourself to what the ancient Buddhists used to say, the position of nothingness. There's nothing there going on in your thoughts. Now that sounds crazy, nothingness. Actually, that's the place of power. When you have the nothingness going on in your mind, you are in a very ripe position that the next focus thought will come with energy. So what I do is, the first thing I do, I go to my couch or my recliner chair that's right over there, and I lay down in the recliner chair, I recline back, and I go into a form of meditation. And what I'm doing, I'm quieting down my thoughts. I'm bringing myself to that place of being very quiet, very peaceful, with no busy thoughts going on through my mind. And I bring myself into that state of what we call the nothingness, where I'm at peace and I'm not in conflict or don't have a bunch of thoughts going through my mind. Then, remember what I talked about? I go into what is called the quantum breathing process, because that quantum breathing process basically resets your brain to where you can focus on whole new complete thoughts. That's A.R. Borden talks about, and he's written about a 12-page article on the quantum breathing and how powerful that is to do that in your mind. Let me share that with you really briefly. It's a 4-step process. Number 1 is you breathe in through your nose, and you can use a count of 3, a count of 4, whichever works best for you. So I use a count of 3. So I breathe in through my nose for a count of 3. You hold it for a count of 3, and then you breathe out through your mouth for a count of 3, and then you rest for a count of 3. It's 4 steps. Breathe in through the nose, hold it, breathe out through the mouth, hold it. And make your steps, how long you do it, consistent. And you can do that with whichever works best for you. A count of 3, count of 4, count of 5, whatever works best for you. What that does, it resets all the thought process going on in your mind, and it's the next step of that meditation process of bringing yourself into that nothingness, you've cleared out all of the old energy thoughts in your brain and you're ready to start on something new. So I go into meditation. I quiet everything down. It usually takes me 2 to 3 minutes to do that. I do my quantum breathing process, and I will usually cycle through that 3 to 4 times, the 4 steps 3 to 4 times. And then I start focusing on what it is that I want. And I don't focus on the steps to get there. I focus a picture on the end result. So then I'm focusing a picture of having the money, putting it in the bank, and being able to spend it where I want it. And I'm doing all of that with a high sense of expectation, enjoy, and anticipation, because those are all very high frequency, powerful, positive memes. The art of manifestation, the art of the law of attraction works best when you have cleared out all the conflicting thoughts and you stay very positive in all of your focused thoughts. And with that, you're putting into energy all these memes to create. Because what we don't understand, we're always creating. As human beings, we are always creating this world that is going on around us. But we live in a world, our default thought system is what is called the ego thought system, is very low in its vibrations. And that's why we live in a world with so much conflict, so much pain, so much misery, so much sickness, so much war, so much fear, so much anxiety, because that's our default thought system. As we learn to shift how we think and undo that ego low vibrational thought system and shift ourselves into always being in high positive powerful vibrational thoughts, we literally start learning how to create the world that we want and the experiences that we want. Now, I've shared with you the book about Jesus, my autobiography. He was the master at that. Most of this information is coming from him and his cohorts that he had learned from. He understood the power of thoughts. He understood the power of always staying positive. That is why he had developed this in his life, so it was so habitual that he always saw the world through the power of love. Because see, love is the highest frequency, powerful, vibrating thought that exists in the universe. When it's thoughts of love, thoughts of compassion, thoughts of humility, thoughts of what are called gratitude, all these are very high, powerful, and love is the one. He always saw people through the eyes of love. Even the biggest asshole that would have been around in his life at that time, he saw it through the eyes of love. Even when he went through the process of the crucifixion, he saw it through the eyes of love. Now, was it painful? Yes, but when the pain would come in, he would immediately transmute it. And he always had forgiveness for all those that brought that to him, because he knew and he understood the experience is only a temporary experience of the soul, and this is a holographic world, and it's not real. So he says, I am not going to make this be a real painful experience for me. I am going to be the master that's in control of my life and the outcome. And that's what gave him the ability to develop the resurrection power that came out of that. Because he saw there was massive, powerful energy going through him all through this experience. And he basically says, this is what I experienced, and you can learn how to do it too. And here we are now, 2,000 years down the road, and we're now starting to move into the age and the era of time where this is going to become more commonplace for us. You've got someone like me that's here teaching it on the internet, and there's going to be thousands of people that are going to watch this. We didn't have that 20 and 30 years ago. We were limited in our perspective, and there was such a negativity of doubt and judgment around all of it that we didn't give it its energy to permeate itself and to grow. But we're now moving into an era and an age of time that this is becoming possible. Now, that's the teaching for tonight. How we learn how to use the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, and to bring it about on a more frequent basis and a quicker outcome for us. Folks, let me share with you practically. This isn't going to happen for you overnight, because down in the subconscious mind, there's programming that is resistant or hesitant or in resistance to this type of thinking. And so it's going to take repetitive work and practice, months and even some years, to basically reprogram the old negative unconscious mind with the new powerful unconscious mind, so that this basically becomes automatic and habitual for you. It will take some years, if not some decades, to where it becomes automatic and habitual if you do the work. Don't expect it to happen automatically. I would be amazed and exciting to hear the reports from people who will spend 5 to 10 minutes a day developing this exercise, developing this practice, and to learn from it and allow it to be a learning and a growing process, and to see where you're going to be in 6 months to a year from now. Because see, what happens if you don't do anything? Then we just stay right where we are. 1 year from now, we'll be right the same where we are. But if we take it and start developing these behavioral practices and creating new habitual thought patterns in our lives, we're going to change our lives and change our world. That's how you effectively change your world, because you create the new energy means that are very positive. That's what I wanted to share with you tonight, folks. Now, let's be real practical. The vast majority of us, all of us, are here because we're in anticipation of the currency exchange. When I was in Sedona, I was able to meet with a wonderful, wonderful friend who's a wonderful, gifted, intuitive lady. And she has this ability to go into what is called a channeling session with the masters that she works with. And in a session that I had with her, I asked about what is the probable date? What can we see for the coming of the currency exchange? And the masters came back and they said, we can't give you a good answer. And here's your reason why. We understand that you have these 4 primary decision makers, but it's their decisions and their thoughts are the ones that it's going to come time to release everything. And right now, they're all over the place. They're not consistent of when and why, and they're not coming together of communicating a consistent pattern amongst themselves. They need to come to a place of agreement with the 4 of them at a consistent point of what they believe is the right time. And the master says, we can't give you a when because they're too scattered in their thoughts about it. And here's what we can do collectively. We can start visualizing, focusing, manifesting, putting memes into them coming together. First of all, letting go of their inconsistent thoughts, all over the place thoughts, coming together in like-mindedness of the time to release the funds. We can use our memes to give thoughts and impressions to them to bring it together. This is a simple, practical thing that we can all collectively start doing on our own. Spend your 5 to 10 minutes a day focusing on the funds coming through and on those 4 decision makers basically coming to agreement of when to release it. And that's what they said. And we try to even come back with those masters and ask and get some specific dates. And they said, we can't tell you. We can't even tell you if it's going to be by the end of the year. We think there's a probability, but it's shifted, and the possibility of that can shift and change because they're shifting and changing. It's the decision makers need to come together in a sense of agreement. And that's what we can do on our own. So let's do that individually. Take that time, because those are the things that we want to see happening in our lives. That's the thing that really draws most of us here together. And that's the thing that has that powerful ability to help create wonderful shift and change in our world. So, okay, I think that's all I got tonight there, Blanca. What would you like to share with us?
Well, that's good. It's what you offered was some practical steps to try this. You've shared them before, but you've really crystallized it. We've heard you talk before about the quantum breath, and we've heard you talk before about having high vibrational thoughts. So here's a nice way to put it together. One thing also you've talked about is when people say, well, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I believe this. In actuality, we already are doing this. We're just doing it unconsciously,
yes,
or without directed thought or directed effort, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. We are already creating all of our life experiences, but we do it unconsciously. And it's like you said, it's not directed thought and concentrated outcome.
That's right. So what we're saying here is we already collectively creating our reality and individually creating it. If you've ever heard yourself say, I knew that was going to happen, you're telling yourself that you were thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
Or, gosh, what I was afraid of, that's exactly what I was afraid of was going to happen. Well, if you're afraid, you're thinking about it, you're worried about it, you're charging it with emotional energy. Well, so now what we're talking about is shifting that with positive energy, with high vibrational energy.
It was really interesting because in the time that I had with my friend and we were in that session, again, we'd asked the questions, so I said, sometimes in the back of our mind we get doubts of if any of this is going to happen. And they came back and said, the money's there. It's been there for thousands of years. They've just been waiting for the right time and the circumstances of when it is to release it. And this is the age and the time to do that. But we're not at the point yet where we can give you some real close specifics of, days or months, but it's there. It's been there for thousands of years and waiting to be released at the right appropriate time. And we are in that right appropriate season. And they had even confirmed that and to come through with that. And again, that goes back to my 4 trips I've done to Hong Kong, where I've met with the dragon families who are the possessors and of a lot of this gold that is beyond our comprehension. It's there. It's all out there. It's been there for thousands of years, but it's just a matter of now coming down to the right. And we're very close to this. You look at the events that are happening in our world, and it's a very positive potential outcome to create healthy shift and change in our world for these funds to be released with what's going on right now, especially with the global COVID pandemic and how that has basically created a huge destruction on the global economy. I mean, the scores of millions of people that have lost their jobs, and people that are homeless and hungry because they have no jobs and have no money. This is the ability to be able to, this is the right time, a good time for a lot of that to be released. So back to you, Blanca. Yes,
I see that as well. When Alan and I talk about what's going on, we're just saying, well, it's obvious that the matrix is being dismantled. A lot of people are a little concerned about what they're seeing, but we look at it as actually a positive development. The matrix is dismantling, and when it's dismantling, we get to decide what the new matrix is going to look like.
Yes.
And some things are already in place for the new. Like you're saying, there's money. If we're willing to have it, it's there. But are we willing to have it? Do we believe we can have it?
Let me also mention now, folks, if any of you would like to call in and you have questions or you'd like to make some comments, again, the call-in number is 515-605-9356. Again, that's 515-605-9356. press 1 on your touch-tone phone, and then we'll bring you on the air, and we'll get to either answer your questions or have a nice discussion with you. So, yeah. Well, excuse me, Blanca, what else would you like to share with us around all those thoughts? Because I always share, friends, you're such a great, what I call color commentator. You add such great color to the discussion of the evening, and that's why I always enjoy having you here. So, yeah.
Well, that's nice of you to say that. When I was getting ready to get on the show, Alan popped in and he goes, "Can you remember when you first thought that you'd volunteer to join Dave?" And I go, I actually do. I've lost track of time. So it has been fun. It's been great. It's just great to be a part of this, what we're trying to accomplish together, and the listeners as well, and to talk about topics that encourage empowerment and encourage freedom and encourage change and encourage upliftment. It's been great to be part of this, Dave, and so I thank you.
Well, I still remember it was October of 2015, and it was like it was just a divine assignment when you came in, and I realized, this is the lady that's, because I always wanted to have, I like the balance, of having another female on the program, so it just doesn't become me, the male dominated, and it kind of brings some good balance to it, and you add such great aspects to the program, and we're always thankful for that. So, and yeah, it's always nice, and I really enjoy about how you and I, it's amazing, we can get into discussions even off the air, and we think so much alike,
right,
and we understand each other, and we get where we're coming from, and so that's a real gift, and I thank you for that. So, yeah.
Yes, it's quite good, and so it's good too that your listeners enjoy these topics. They're actually working on this too. So these are things they're already working on, and now I'm not seeing anybody raise their hands here.
I haven't either. So I guess maybe.
Did you give the phone number?
I did. I gave it out, 2 or 3 times, the number, and maybe we're just ready to call it a night tonight. It's been about a little over 45 minutes, and it's about the length I like to do on the teaching program. So are we ready to call it a night? I am.
Yes, I think so, and I encourage people to try the exercise that you recommended, and just doing the quantum breathing is very nice anyway, just to get you in a nice state if you want to do it before going into a meeting or before setting on a task. It's a great little practice just in and of itself.
Good. Okay, well, folks, then we want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. I might be in Vermont. If not, it's always nice to be with you. So thanks a lot, folks, and we will see you later. Okay.